Hello again, my friends. This is part two. I think this will be a two-part series. Maybe it'll be a three-part series on the meaning of the moon. And what we're going to do here in part two is we're going to talk about the moon in aspect to any other planet. Let's do sun moon first. Sun means the present moment. Moon means reflecting the past into the present. I add those two together, present moment plus reflects the past into the present, equals what? What it does. And again, before I tell you, let me just repeat this. It's hard to know this. We know it from observation, but it's like mixing two notes together or two ingredients. When you experience it, you go, oh, that's how they mix together. Here's what happens. And it's like after you see it and you work with it, you go, oh, well, that's obvious. It makes sense once you say it and you observe it. Sun-moon aspects shine a light on current situations. Any situation, whatever's going on in your life, what's going on politically, what's going on at work, what's going on in your relationship, what's going on with anything. The sun is like a flashlight, or what do they say in England, torch or something? Like it's in America we call it a flashlight. It shines a light on something. And what it specifically shines a light on it, it like makes it bright and clear in order to show how the past is embedded in the situation, how the present is really an accumulation of the past. So it looks at it and it says, of course that's the way it is. Of course. Like it can even be a mechanical thing. Like why are we building houses with pine instead of oak typically, like the 2x4s that build the house? Like, why are certain materials used? And then you look at it historically, and you look at what the background is, and you look at how things happen. Well, oak is a hard wood, but it takes a long time to grow, and it's going to be more expensive, and you particularly need that for this purpose. But if you're doing a floor, then the oak can be better. So you're looking at what you're looking at, why, what is the background, what is the history, what has made this happen? Certain trees can grow in certain areas and they grow in certain ways. What is the history? What is the background? So typical interests of sun and moon is not typically things that I just described. It's often politics. Whoa! Sun, moon gets involved in politics? Yes. You get some surprising ideas sometimes. Because politics is often about our heritage. It's about the governmental system and how it got there. And there's often a lot of patriotism involved. It's how our heritage makes our lives possible. It's part of what's built into it. There's a lot more to politics. But a lot of people, at least in the United States politics, especially at federal level. Now, at more local levels, in other countries, the dynamics can be very different. And maybe it's not sun and moon. But I happen to be making this video in October 2024, about a month before an election for president and Congress people, federal election in the United States. You see a lot of sun and moon. In fact, one of the things that got me into making this video is that the two main candidates for president of the United States in 2024, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, were both born at full moon. They both have sun-moon aspects. So it's not unusual because in politics there's a lot of emphasis on where are we now as a result of our heritage. Also, documentaries, stories, movies. So you may not think of documentaries as a sun-moon, like somebody has sun conjunct moon or sun opposition moon, and they're involved in documentaries. Maybe they write the documentaries, maybe they're actors performing the documentaries, stories, moves that shine a light on the situations and the conditions we encounter. What is the historical background? What's the backdrop of this? It gives a sense of the context. the things that have gone on to build this situation. Sun, moon. We are in this situation because these things have built up. Also things like psychology, sociology. Again, we don't think of those as sun, moon, but they're often sun, moon, especially if Mercury. Like Mercury, sun, moon. Whoa. Very often inclined to things like psychology and sociology, because now they're making associations on why you are the way you are, why things are the way they are, because of the history. If you overlook the history, you can't see why you're depressed. We have to go back, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. They show how our current experiences are an expression of the past. Also, people that preserve and enhance traditions, like people that are involved in festivals, holidays, keeping the tradition alive and awake and vibrant, sun, moon. So people that love the parade, that love the whatever in your country may be going on, that you celebrate. You're celebrating the past and how the life we have now. You're actually not celebrating the past. You're celebrating that the life we have now is a consequence of the past. So sun, moon, if you have that aspect, it shines a light on the current situation. Sun, moon is not interested in the past just because they're curious about the past. It's curious about what's going on now. And when you look at what's going on now, you see that so much of it is defined by what happened in the past. So you'll find actors who do things like documentaries, sun, moon aspects. So some surprising things there. Okay, now, I mentioned that I'm making this video a month before an election in the United States, and Donald Trump and Kamala Harris were both born at full moon. Let me see if I can bring that up. I don't know if I've got the program. Yes, I do. I've got it right here. Let me just verify that. Yeah, I think you're seeing that just fine. And I didn't pull in. Let me bring up real quick Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Oh, it looks like I already had them in there. Anyway, here's Kamala Harris, Sun at 27, Libra 48, Moon at 27, Aries 39, almost an exact opposition. Wow. And Donald Trump also was born at full moon. His is not quite as tight, but a degree and a half orb, just before full moon. Interesting. So you'll see sun moon aspects very common with people running at a federal level in United States politics. I haven't looked at other political systems and people. There can be different themes and different emphasis, but in the United States it's often a common emphasis of people running for office. Now, many years ago, decades ago, I was reading some ideas from an astrologer in a book, and the astrologer was saying that if a person's born at full moon, they have this large presence. It's just like the moon is full, like they're just, big. They're just really shining and have, kind of charisma or something. And Luciano Pavarotti was given as an example decades ago of somebody who has that fullness of the full moon. And there's Pavarotti, born at full moon. The moon's about 2 degrees before opposition to the sun, very similar to Trump. And Trump has a large presence. So Luciano Pavarotti and Donald Trump, this big, large kind of presence. They're even kind of big physically, it happens. But even if they weren't, it's this booming presence. If we look at pictures of Pavarotti, I had meant to, I won't bother with that. I had meant to show you some pictures. But anyway, he's, opera singer with the big voice and everything. So is it true? Is it true that Sun Moon does this? Doesn't seem to be as obvious for Kamala Harris as like a large presence, but she is running for president. So here's what we do in an evidence-based system is we use some modern research method to help us understand. So what I did is I went into the Sirius 4.0 software and I gave 50 points to somebody who has Sun opposition Moon exact, and there'll be fewer points if the orb as the orb gets bigger. You can also, you don't need to have the Sirius software. I believe you can go to the online Astro Databank at astrodatabank.com and you can do these searches, I think, with the online data. And I found 3 people had a score of 50. Then there's 49, 48, 47. But if we look at the ones who have it exact, according to modern research methods, this gives us confidence. It gives us better information, more confidence about what's going on than if we just pick our friends and family, whatever, and famous people we can think of, because there's no selection bias. I'm not picking the people. And if you have it stronger, it's like a pure type. It's what we call information rich. It's going to tell us a lot. If people with an exact, born exactly at full moon, have this sun-moon opposition, you're exact, if they don't exhibit the qualities, then we lose confidence in the idea. Because if they don't have it, wow, it's like, this is not really working. Out of these top 3 people, I don't have a biography for one of them, but I do have a biography, biographies exist for Ari Grainer and Gordon Zaks. So, do they have this large presence? Are they involved in shining a light on current situations and how the past is embedded in them? So let's look at it. Here's Ari Grainer. I'll read a little quote about her. Grainer is known for her versatility as an actress, able to play both comedic and dramatic roles with ease. She has received critical acclaim for her performances on stage and screen. She has established herself as one of the most talented actresses of her generation. So she's a serious actress. I watched some interviews and read about her, and she describes what she does. If she's going to perform a part, she's got a role, whether it's on TV or movies, on stage. She's done a lot of different kinds of acting. She studies it. She reads the script, what the foundation of it is. She may do some research into it. Her acting is a kind of learning experience, as I say here at the bottom. She studies the characters, the plot in detail. She's engaging to understand this. She's not just saying, oh, I can play that part and doing it. She's embracing the whole experience and her part in it. So let me read another quote, and I give the website address for these quotes. A favorite on the independent film circuit for over a decade, actress Ari Grainer gave expert portrayals of young women under duress in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist in 2008 and in For a Good Time Call in 2012. She made an auspicious debut at Meadow Soprano's manic depressive roommate on The Sopranos before essaying variations on that role in numerous independent projects. So she does a lot of different things. Network television soon took note of her abilities, allowing Grainer to add appearances on Veronica Mars and also included roles on Broadway. So what she's doing is she is showing different characters and how the context of their lives, the history, the setting, where they live, the people they know, how life works, how their lives develop. They can be fictional, but they are relating to actual real life. Now, actors often have strong 17 vibe. So I looked at her 17 vibe to see if she has a strong pattern, and if that full moon is involved. And what I found was very interesting. Here is, let's pull up Ari Grainer. Here's her birth chart, just in case you want to look at it. It's AA data, born at 2:30 a.m. in Boston, Massachusetts on April 27, 1983. And if we look at her 17 vibe chart, my photo's getting in the way here. Let me shrink myself a little bit. There we go. If we look at her 17 vibe, yeah, she has a strong pattern. There's her sun, moon. They're going to be conjunct or opposition in every vibe because she was born almost exactly a full moon. Sun is 6 Taurus 26. Moon is 6 Scorpio 26 to the minute. Like, she got all 50 points because she was born exactly, almost exactly at the full moon. So her 17 vibe does have 4 planets involved, but when you are a specialist, like Ari Grainer, you're a dedicated actress, highly respected, it takes more than 4 planets weak. Sun and Moon are not at the midpoint of Uranus, Neptune. It's a strong pattern, but not strong enough to be Ari Grainer. So I looked at 17 times 4, 68. Again, we see some strong patterns, but we're looking for 4 planets almost exact. So we have very strict requirements. I looked at 17 times 3. I see a lot of dashed lines. When we go to 17 times 12, if we do that on a calculator, whoops, sorry about that. I didn't mean to bring that up. We closed that. I meant to bring up a calculator. If we bring up a calculator and type 17 times 12, we find out that it's 204. If we look at our 204 vibration, we see the 4 planets tightly connected. Mars, there's the Sun and Moon conjunct with a 10-minute orb. It's at 204 vibration. It now has a 1-degree orb. So she wasn't born exactly at new moon. Probably about 20 seconds of arc different. Multiply that by 200, it becomes about a degree. At 204. So if you're familiar with vibrational astrology or harmonics, you're familiar with how everything gets 204 times bigger and 204 vibration. The main point is that she has Mars directly at the midpoint of a Sun-Moon conjunction and a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. 5 planets, all the aspects very thick, very strong. This is a tremendously powerful pattern. If we go down to half the vibe at 102, we still see Mars at the midpoint of a Sun-Moon conjunction and a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And the aspects now are dashed lines instead of the solid lines. This has to do with how vibrations change. The point is this: whether you look at it as 7 times 6 or 7 times 12, she has a huge pattern. And in our research on bipolar disorder, on great athletes, we found it's the very high vibrations show the real talent and inner wiring of the person, believe it or not. And when we look at the midpoint structures, that reinforces, let me go back to the wheel. Mars is right in between, equidistant from these 2 conjunctions. And when you look at the midpoint structures, there's Mars at Sun, Jupiter, Sun, Saturn, Moon, Jupiter, Moon, Saturn, all 4 midpoint structures, all under 1-degree orb. Wow. This is extremely strong. And her Sun and Moon, that new moon that she was born with, are part of it. What does it mean? Sun and Moon means documentaries, stories, how the present situation is defined by the past. Jupiter, Saturn means well organized. She studies the scripts. She studies what's going on. She has a solid understanding of it. And Mars means this is what she does. She takes the situation and how it's defined by the past, the context of it. She understands it, she works with it. She's a very solid, reliable, versatile actress. This is all 17 vibration, which means interest in the stories of other people. So here we see it. So what does sun moon mean? It means shining a light on a current situation and showing how it's defined by the past. If you don't understand the context and history and development of it, you're not really understanding what's going on. And so the meaning of that sun-moon aspect depends on what the sun-moon aspect does. In Ari Grainer's case, it's embedded in a huge 17 vibe. 17 vibe is the vibration of acting. And some other things. She is an actress doing exactly this. So it ends up that when we say something like sun-moon opposition means this fullness and largeness, she's not particularly like a Luciano Pavarotti, like some big magnanimous presence. She's just a fantastic actress, like one of the best, highly respected. So the meaning of the sun-moon is a person's going to shine a light on some situation, showing the context, showing the heritage, showing the development behind it, in the way that that sun and moon are connected in their chart. For Ari Grainer, it's in higher 17 vibes, which among other things gives the potential to be an outstanding actress. She was exposed to acting at a very young age. By the time she was 4 years old, she was doing the acting, etc. It got engaged in this way, which was natural for her. And the way she does it is exactly described by this planetary configuration. So, in vibrational astrology, we're looking at these forces, we're looking at how they connect. It's a whole new way of understanding things, and we're saying that Ari Grainer is a great actress because of a 17 times 6. You can also look at it as a 17 times 12 planetary configuration in which that new moon, a full moon, that sun-moon opposition is a critically important part of it. Wow. This is a whole new way of understanding astrology. The other person is Gordon Sachs. And just to let you know a little bit about Gordon Sachs, he's arguably done more for building Jewish identity and the Zionist philosophy that Jews have a homeland in Israel more than anyone else. America's always been very pro-Israel. Both candidates disagree on most things, but they're both pro-Israel, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and previous President Joe Biden, or he's still current president, pro-Israel, Obama, pro-Israel. One thing that got the United States into this was, historians say, according to what I read from political scientists and historians, Gordon Sachs is a tremendous force behind this. I'll just read a little bit about him. Born in the year that Hitler came to power, Gordon was obsessed with the survival of Judaism, Jews, Israel, America, and mankind. His defining moment occurred at age 15 when Israel was formed by the United Nations. When the land was returned to the Jewish people, I remember thinking to myself that that was the most important thing that was going to happen in my lifetime. There's a sun-moon flavor. Remember, he was born, just like Ari Grainer, with an exact sun-moon opposition. Here's Israel. That's an actual situation formed by the United States, by the United Nations, and it has a long history to it. What is that history? How can we make this present situation that's defined through all of this history? He becomes obsessed with this this. Sun Moon is involved in current situations that can only be understood and appreciated fully by understanding their history. Let me say that again. Sun Moon aspects are about an interest in some current situation, the sun, and that you can only appreciate it and really understand it if you can appreciate the history behind it. And so this is a current event, Israel being formed when he was 15 years old, and his interest in that reality and the history behind it. I decided right then and there that I would be part of the rebirth of the land and the redemption of the people of Israel. Why specifically Israel? Why did it take that form? Why was it not acting like it is for Ari Grainer? Because of the way the sun and moon are embedded in his chart, which is not 17 vibration. I'll tell you in a minute what it is. In 1969, his thoughts about the survival of Judaism with the power elite of the Council of Jewish Federations. He spoke in large part about the scandalous condition of Jewish education. Gordon Sachs was a born leader and magnificent orator. He spoke the language of change. His 1969 speech electrified the Jewish leaders from across the country. We got the idea. The preservation, the development of the Jewish nation. He is a Zionist, and he inspired people, and he's changed. He succeeded. He's helped this movement happen. Why? Because of the way the sun and moon are embedded in his chart. When I go into the Series 4.0 software, I select harmonic patterns listing number 1. I see that his strongest vibration is 314 among the top 360. This is harmonic patterns listing number 1, which shows just conjunctions in that vibration. Doesn't use midpoints, just seeing by aspect what vibration is strongest. A very simple, direct way of looking at it. The next strongest vibration is 57 times 4, 228. Much weaker. The 314 vibe had 5 listings in capital letters. 228 had 4 listings and only 1 in capital letters. Capital letters means the aspect is tight. Huge. 314 vibration. Let's look at his 314 vibration chart. And we looked at Ari Grainer. So let's look at Gordon Sachs. That's his birth chart. And here is his, instead of looking at 314, I'm going to look at 157. 314 equals 157 times 2. And what you will see in the 157 vibration are the oppositions. It's extraordinarily tight. This is an unbelievably strong pattern. Most people don't have a configuration this strong in their first 360 vibrations. He has an extraordinarily powerful configuration of Sun, Saturn, Neptune, opposition Moon and Venus, all within 1 degree. Now, I don't know what 157 means. Sun, Saturn, Neptune sounds like what he's doing. That's where someone focuses on some particular meaning and purpose in life, some ideal that's simple. Moon, Venus is nostalgia. Sun, Saturn, Neptune, they can be devotees or cynics. They don't like superficiality, but he's dedicated himself to a religious ideal. So it seems related, but we don't know what 157 means. So what I did is I did an extreme case sampling research on 157. I'm going to make a separate video on what I found about the meaning of 157. It fits perfectly. It just fits perfectly. I'm going to give you a rough idea. I don't want to go off into describing all the research and insights into 157. I'm going to put that in a separate video. It'll take at least a half hour. But fundamentally, what we saw with 157 is it indicates Well, before I talk about 157, let's talk about the planetary configuration. The configuration of Sun, Saturn, Neptune indicates dedication to some kind of spiritual aspiration or the wiping away of glamour and illusion in a sincere and perhaps extreme devotional or cynical way, with a deep sense of nostalgia and rich heritage of beauty. This is what he did, preserving and enhancing a particular religious and spiritual way of life. And the 157 vibration that's so strong for him, one conjunctions and opposition 157 vibe, I'll just tell you what we concluded. 157 vibe gives a sense of mission or purpose that highlights the importance of preserving and enhancing the integrity of people and proper respect for them. The importance of leadership and self-reliance and the goal of greater depth, stability, respect, and maturity. It's about respect and integrity for a movement, which is what this is about. I will explain the 157 vibration in more detail, and in the video 157 vibe, you will see that this describes exactly the life of Gordon Zacks. And the top people with the vibration, these were the 6 people that are strongest. So in a separate video, I analyze what's going on with them, and they stand out clearly above the 7th strong. So we can take the top 6. I'll go over all that research separately. Bottom line is this. When you watch this video I made on 157 vibration, if you watch that, you will see that just like Ari Grainer, our Gordon Zacks, couldn't think of his name, Gordon Zacks, exactly the same thing. The way his sun and moon are involved, the planetary configuration they're involved in, Sun, Saturn, Neptune. Saturn, Neptune we call the spiritual path. They're on a spiritual path, a specific, very specific spiritual path, or they just complain about the existing spiritual paths, the superficiality. They're trying to find their path. He found his spiritual path in Judaism. And Moon Venus is the nostalgia, and they're trying to bring back the nostalgia. When you look at what 157 means, as a love of a movement where there's integrity and respect, this is what it does. And when I talk about 157 vibration, I'll also be talking about how 157 vibration is engaged in a movement, and they're usually competitors and sometimes opponents. Well, Israel has some big opponents, especially right now with the war that's going on, people taking different sides. Exactly his life. So we're getting evidence that the way the sun and moon work in the case of an exact full moon should be the same with a new moon, but our research on full moon is you look to see what planetary configuration that is involved with, and you will see the person involved with an interest in some current event and how a history or background has defined it. Okay, it works much better than saying, moon is the archetype of the mother and the home and whatever. This targets it more precisely. Okay, let's look at, we're at 34 minutes. I'm going to make a third video in this series, and I'll go through quickly with the other ones. I want to cover some basic concepts. Okay, we will have a third part to understanding the moon, and then I'm going to make a separate video about 157 vibration. Okay, thank you very much, my friends. God bless. Namaste.